Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In 2004, Usher had one of the most successful years in R&B history.
Fans love the music. The performance has been great. The tours have been great. The awards have been rolling in. Records have been broken worldwide. So 2004 hopefully will be a year that it was sort of like the House of Usher. I like that.
His album Confessions sold over 1 million copies within the first week of its release, and hit singles like Yeah, Burn and My Boo turned him into a truly global phenomenon.
I mean, he's selling out records more so than Michael Jackson, and who'd have thought that anybody would ever sell out more so than Michael Jackson? Usher knew, but we didn't know.
I would not put any kind of cap on what this man can do because he is so focused on entertaining in any medium. I would not bet against this man at all.
We saw something. Now, the best thing about Usher was that face. That same face you see now was that face he had as a little kid. So you see a kid with that face, and you say, wait a minute, that could work.
Music is my inspiration. You know, I love music, I am music.
This is the story of how a young man from a small town in Tennessee became one of the most successful and popular artists in the world. This is Usher's story. Usher Raymond's story begins in Dallas, Texas, where he was born on the 14th of October, 1978. Usher's parents separated early in his infancy, and his mother, Jonetta Patton, moved her young family to Chattanooga, a small city in Tennessee.
Chattanooga is an interesting place. It's a secondary city. It's not big, but then it's not small. It's kind of a medium-sized city. It has what most of the other cities have, a transit system, airport system, interstate systems, buildings, you know. It's ghettos, and a lot of the people, you run into some friendly people, and then a lot of people you have to be careful who you run into. It's in some ways it can be a closed-minded place because we're still a southern city trying to grow or whatever like that. But for the most part, it's pretty much what you make of it. Chattanooga is pretty much what you make of it.
Usher began his singing career at the age of 9 when he joined his mother's choir at St. Elmo's Church in Chattanooga.
Usher's days in the choir at St. Elmo, I believe, was basically like a foundation or a starting ground for him because by him practicing at such an early age, from childhood, it just gave him just like a more sense or a feel of stability, like performing in front of a group really didn't bother him. I remember even some people saying that when he sung, he just sung as if he had no shame. That the audience and the crowd, I'm pretty sure it seemed as if he pretty much phased them out. Like he was just the only one there performing by himself. So I'm just pretty much sure that they just gave him a basic, solid foundation for what he does now. Also that it gave him a chance to really express and use his voice the way that he wanted to in various tones. He didn't have to hold this back or kind of stifle this. He could just go ahead and just pretty much flow the way that he wanted to. And he pretty much does that in his music now, as you can see.
It was at Dalewood Middle School that the young Usher first showed an interest in live performance.
Well, one of Usher's first groups, to my knowledge, was the Happy Clowns, which was in southern Chattanooga, kind of near the Georgia state line. I didn't know too much about Happy Clowns, but I have a classmate who danced in Happy Clowns, and she remembers talking about Usher's mother. She had positive things to say about her. It was funny. She would always say, Yeah, I knew Usher's mother. She said, Miss Patton, she said, the only thing she said I can most remember about Usher's mother was she was always about, she said she was always about business. Miss Patton was always about business.
With the support of his mother, Usher joined an all-male music act, New Beginnings, which began to achieve some local success.
New Beginning was mostly like a young black male group. They pretty much went out back in the day of Keith Sweat and Bobby Brown. They pretty much went out doing just different types of music with the same, well, mostly with the similar styles that they did. They danced, they had the flat tops and the parts, and they danced, they sung, they promoted positive music. They more so did a lot of they did a lot of stunts too in their work. They did backflips, cartwheels. They were pretty much well choreographed. They were just really talented.
Feeling that Usher's talent was being lost in New Beginnings, Janetta decided to move the family to Atlanta, Georgia, a short distance over the state line and a major city where her son stood a better chance of being discovered. The 12-year-old Usher enrolled in Sandy Springs Middle School, where he began to concentrate on developing his talent.
Back at the time when Usher was discovered, I went to high school here in Atlanta, Mays High School. Every weekend, a high school was having a talent show. Jermaine Dupri, producers, Dallas Austin, they all participated in talent shows. It was about who was the best dancer or who was the best singer. And you could go to talent shows that, you know, this high school has great dancers, this high school has it was something they just put on just for entertainment.
Just a group of people that are trying to do it on their own, that are trying to get in the industry, and they'll do it their own way with the list of contacts that they may have. They may put a radio advertisement out, which is a great way to start for a lot of independent people that may not have the connects like the LA Reids and the Babyface will. But they'll basically put out a call for other independent artists, and they'll get together and they'll hold their own showcase. But it's a great way to start.
When he was 14, he went to a talent show in Atlanta. Obviously, he'd been singing in his school choir, and his mum had been helping him out as actually working towards being a professional singer. But he caught the attention of L.A. Reid, or one of his talent scouts. And from there, I mean, they signed him up. Within a year, he was signed to make a record with Puff Daddy. I mean, I think that just goes to show what a polished performer he was even at that age. I mean, how much effort he put in to what he does. Because to go from a talent show in basically a school hall to selling like millions of records within a year before you're even 16, I mean, I think that shows a huge amount of how dedicated he is as a performer and how much he's really got to offer.
Before I go into the next segment, I have to introduce you to somebody. And you know who it is. It's Usher.
It only took one audition to convince L.A. Reid to sign the young star on the spot. By signing to LaFace Records, Usher became part of the explosion of Atlanta-based talent in the mid-90s. An explosion that was led by the label's charismatic heads L.A. Reid and Babyface.
During the mid-90s, when the Atlanta scene was exploding, you had a lot of record labels here that were finally getting their just due. They were coming out with hit records back-to-back, hit groups, a lot of budgeting behind the projects. You had TLC coming out of Atlanta. Okay, they were on LaFace Records, but LaFace Records was owning Atlanta at the time.
I would say that the explosion of the music scene in Atlanta in the mid-90s, more accurately, I would say probably around 1993 or 94. So when it really started to go national. LaFace record, of course, was blowing up at the time. You had Tony Braxton, you had TLC,